Welcome to episode 113 of Sport SA Daily Diary. Today we're chatting to a South African golfer who only last week qualified for her first Women's British Open. Afternoon, Monique. How are you doing today?
I'm all right, Adam. How are you? Can't complain. Finally, we got some good weather for golf, finally, so all good on this side.
Finally, we got some non-load shedding, so you and I can actually, we can chat.
We can chat after what? Third time lucky, so we are good for our third time now.
Monique, we're going to get into your career now, but you have the biggest smile on your face at the moment. Tell us why.
Well, this biggest smile that I've had now is very much thanks to the news that I got late last week, is that I have officially qualified for this year's Women's British Open at Royal Troon in Scotland.
Absolutely fantastic. Congratulations. You must be over the moon.
I tell you, it's super surreal. I think, after receiving the news and kind of letting the news sink in was a good 2 to 3 days. I think I walked around the house repeating it to myself. We've qualified for the British Open. You've qualified for the British Open. And, and just let it sink in, and the enormity of such a wonderful achievement in my own career. I mean, last year was a very difficult year with some personal stuff with my mom, and then to have come out in January and win that final card in a four-way playoff, get that first win again in 4 years, top it off with the Order of Merit, and then then whole world kind of shuts down on us for a couple of months, and then to sort of come out and qualify for the Open Championship. I mean, it's a bit mind-boggling, I'm not going to lie, but I can't wait. I think it's going to be just unreal.
Absolutely epic, and I'd like to chat about that four-way playoff shortly. But tell us, we've just been chatting now before we started. Who was the first person you called, and tell us about the reaction that you got when you shared your news?
So I always used to phone my mom with anything. Dad was always sort of second in line on the calling list, but unfortunately I lost my mom to cancer in November of last year. So I phoned my dad, and I was half in tears phoning my dad, and I said to him, "Dad, I've just qualified for the British Open." He's like, "What? You've qualified? Okay, this is fantastic news, but I really have to go now." And then he just hangs up the phone on me. I'm like, you've been of no help to me whatsoever. And he honestly, he couldn't speak about it for 2-3 days. Like, he would acknowledge it, but it was only really over the weekend when we were sitting watching golf. And he's like, "You've qualified for the Women's British Open. This is your first major championship." He's like, "Do you have any idea what that means?" I said to him, "I think I do. I'm not quite sure. I'm still getting used to the idea of qualifying for my first ever major championship."
It's absolutely huge, and massive congratulations from all of us here, and probably the whole country. You must be incredibly proud. You say you watched golf with your dad. Is that how you got into the sport?
Yes, indeed. So, I was always very avid into all sorts of sport at school and stuff. And I'll never forget it. It was, we were on school holidays. I think it was like the winter break area. And my dad was going out playing around. And he's like, "Well, why don't you just come with? There's a little 9-iron here for you. Why don't you just come with and just walk and hit golf balls?" And as the saying goes, the rest is history. And I never looked back ever since. So I started when I was 11 years old, and a couple of years later mom joined. So we always had the family Sunday ritual. The three of us would go out every Sunday morning, three of us, to go play some golf together.
Monique, you mentioned that you played other sports at school. What were those other sports?
I used to be very big into tennis and athletics while at school, and it got to a point where you had to choose, and I chose to play golf, played for the school and all of that, and best decision ever I made.
And I mean, you obviously played ball sports from an early age. Do you feel that helped you with your golf in terms of the sort of eye to ball hand coordination?
Oh, hugely. I mean, I played probably tennis for, since I was maybe 6, 7 years old. So, having that type of rhythm, that timing, and just like you said, the eye-hand coordination and just sort of the overall coordination, made it a lot easier for me to get into golf. I mean, I still play some tennis whenever I get the chance. I'm definitely out there, playing a few sets, and it's such a lovely way just to get a little bit away from the game and just de-stress and just have some fun.
And you played at your school. You played in your school team. Where did you sort of journey to from after that?
So pretty much, it's actually very interesting how I kind of got into my career. Is that, pretty much from a young age, when you get into golf and you start playing your junior amateur tournaments and all of that, everyone talks about sort of the road to America, getting into a good university, scholarship, that type of thing. And and that's exactly the route that I was very much dead set on. I mean, I got an amazing opportunity to go to the University of Denver. And I went over on an official visit, the whole thing. And it was actually funny. I got approved through the school, everything, just for the NCAA to come back to me and said, well, because you actually didn't take science as final years, you do not actually have enough, how can I say, grades or points for science. So I had to then actually do an extra sort of year's worth of credits to then only go. And I said to my dad and my mom at the time, was like, what, I'm not going to spend another year just getting 24 credits. I'm actually going to. So I literally, I phoned the university right then. I said, listen, guys, thank you very much for the opportunity, but I'm going to keep playing amateur golf. And my mom and dad, they have given up so much for me to be able to do what I do in my career. And they said, listen, you've got to keep competing overseas. And that's what they did. They sent me over to Europe. I played golf in Asia just to play, and as an amateur at that time. And that's sort of how my journey progressed from playing junior golf, senior golf, our interprovincial 72 holes. And I still think the American way is really good for some players. I mean, I personally don't think I would have done very well. I'm the type of person, I need to either focus on one thing and go fully into one thing. I'm not very good at the whole balancing thing. So I'm very blessed to have had the opportunity to have competed overseas as much as I've done, and then to come back and then decided that I'm ready for the next level to go pro.
And sort of growing up and being in junior golf and that sort of thing, was there someone that you looked up to in terms of either ladies golf, men's golf, or sort of any golf, that you thought, cheapers, I wish I could play like that?
I mean, I think my biggest inspiration has always been Annika. I mean, if there's ever been someone that has been very simplistic in the way that she has approached her golf and approached her career, it's Annika Sorenstam. I mean, I grew up as the only girl amongst all the boys playing junior golf. And I mean, I even got chosen to play on the boys team at the Southern Cape. So, it was, I think, playing with the boys has kind of toughened me up, for the world out there. And it was always great because the boys had the respect for me to not treat me as a girl, but just to treat me as an equal golfer to them, and for that, I will always be very thankful for the juniors that I grew up. I mean, I grew up with Eric van Rooyen, and so to see him doing so well now, it's fantastic. And I mean, like with Brandon, I mean, we're very good friends with Brandon. So to see them all really achieving these fantastic things in their careers, it's absolutely awesome.
And growing up with them as juniors, do you all tee off from the same spot, or is there still a men's tee and a ladies tee?
So during our junior days, it was very much everyone's on the old green tees, as it were. But now I'm definitely not playing off the men's tee. They can sit at the back there. I'll play off my normal men's tee. They can go off the black tees at the back there. But no, it's fantastic, and I really do think that having that as part of my growing up in the game and growing up with the boys and stuff, it's great. You can go out and have chipping competitions, play 4 holes, and I mean, we were all very fortunate to be a part of the fan court elite team, which then merged into the fan court and Ernie Els Foundation. So I mean, to be able to be associated with fan court here, it's like a dream come true for any golfer to really practice and progress their game.
And you talk about progressing your game, and you chatted earlier about sort of timing and the skills. I play golf, but I play terrible golf from one side to the other. In my books, it's an expensive sport, so I'm going to have as many shots as I can. So for professional golfers, I feel very strongly that it's a lot of it is a natural talent. Yes, a lot of it is practice and practice, but a lot is natural talent. Do you feel you were born with a gifted sort of natural talent for the game in terms of timing, in terms of hitting the ball? You look at some of the smaller players and they're hitting the ball further than some of the bigger players. So it is really all about timing and, how you hit the ball.
No, I do definitely agree with you there, Adam. I mean, I've been blessed with having just a knack for playing sports. And, I mean, like I said, for me, from an early age on, it was tennis, and I love tennis. I still do today. I mean, and then there was athletics for me as well. I mean, I was much more on the sprinting side of stuff, but again, tennis for me was always the big thing. I mean, I've been also very blessed that both my parents were huge sporting people when they grew up. I mean, my dad did triathlons and all sorts of things at school, and my mom was also, she had her Western Province colors, and so did my dad. So I think I've also been blessed on both sides with some sporting talents there. But talking about timing and rhythm and that aspect, and I mean, just from on the other side, as I'm a PGA professional as well, timing and rhythm, it's not something you can teach. You cannot teach that to somebody. I mean, one of my clients is he used to play semi-professional football, and now he plays golf. And he's like, having just that feel, he's like, I'm not kicking a ball or anything like that, but just to have the feel, I'm just using the feel not in my feet but in my arms. So it's amazing how you can talk to certain individuals and from their backgrounds and see. And I mean, you do get golfers that that come in that do not have any prior sporting backgrounds or anything. So yes, it does pose a bit more of a challenge, but that's when you can really be like, okay, these are the fundamental basics, but in the end, you've got to feel that club move. It's sort of, and you'll always hear the really good golfers, it's just like, you just see it and you feel it, and you just somehow find a way to do it.
I mean, I remember going to watch young Jaden Schaefer at the SA Open this past January. And I mean, for a kid that age and his timing, and I mean, the one hole was a par 3 and he shanked it a bit and was behind the green, and a horrible lie. His next shot was 2 inches from the hole. So, I mean, yeah, it really is, I think it's a natural born skill as much as it is practice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the thing is that, and this is also where I think as a PGA professional and having had 8 years as being a professional touring pro now, is that you can practice as much as you want, but if you're not practicing smartly, practicing doesn't mean anything either. So it's very much, you have to find that balance. But I mean, you'll speak to most of the golfers, is that when we do practice, it's either we're in block practice or we're in random practice. When we're in block, we you forget about the timing and the rhythm. You're just trying to feel something, doesn't matter where the ball goes. But once you get out into random practice, that's where the practice really gets fun. That's when we start moving the ball, shaping the ball, just imagining different scenarios.
And Monique, with all ups, there are downs, unfortunately. You went through a 12-month patch where you didn't play because of knee surgery. I mean, that must have been pretty frustrating, not being able to get out on that course. Probably not even, you probably couldn't even swing a golf club because of the impact on the knee. Tell us a bit about that and what you sort of learned from having to recuperate and just chill for a year.
Sorry, I have my dog here. Come, Luna,
No
go back.
problem.
Sorry, she's joined us as well. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, no, we've got the whole family here now. My 2018 season was a bust, complete bust. I kind of took a 3-year hiatus from playing golf. I mean, I think my last really good finish was 2015, at the very end of the when we had the race to the top 10 for the Investec final at Mulva. I think it was 2015, and I just got into such a bad space with my own golf. I couldn't be on a golf course. I didn't know why I was there, plotting from A to B. And that's actually when I decided to do my PGA apprenticeship. And it was during that time where I was starting to do much more triathlons and stuff. I wasn't playing as much golf. And, and throughout all of that, I actually busted my knee. And what ended up happening was the bursa pocket exploded straight into the kneecap. And I was getting ready for the 2018 season. And I was like, this is not feeling great whatsoever. And I managed to see my surgeon Spike down in Stellenbosch. And it was literally, I had an appointment with him the day before the Women's SA Open at Westlake. He looked at it and everything, because just a couple of weeks prior, I had an injection into my knee just so that I can kind of nurse it through the 2018 season, and then I'll have my surgery after SA Open. He looked at it a day before SA Open. He's like, I'm seeing you tomorrow in surgery. There's no ways that you are playing golf. So that was it. So 2018 was very much a write-off. And I was actually very fortunate to have had the physical team around me that I did with Sandra Winter, who is a well-renowned physiotherapist, especially to the golfers. And she got me back out onto the golf course by November of 2018. And I was very fortunate to get the go-ahead to play and to walk, because I got invited to just a friendly North and South match for the Global Challenge in Hermanus. So it's just a week before that I got, the go-ahead to play. And, and being back playing against old friends of mine from Europe and new young upcoming professionals coming out of Europe, I just realized something just switched that week. And I was like, you know what, I'm missing playing golf. I'm missing the competition and all of that. And I knew I was coming to the end of my PGA studies. So, kind of after I got back from Hermanus with a nice new knee, it was working perfectly fine throughout the whole week. That's sort of when I really decided, well, I'm going to recommit myself for 2019 and, get started on the Sunshine Ladies Tour. I decided I'm going to retake my membership on the Ladies Access Series with no status, nothing, really relying on a few emails and sponsors invites to get in. So, but it also having the time off with the knee, and, it kind of woke something up in me, is that, am I really done playing? And that was the big question, because after that I was like, this could be a career ending surgery. If this is not going to feel good afterwards. And having that time off working with Sandra, she pushed me as much as she could. And I'm so thankful to her for that, and best decision I made was to recommit myself for 2019 season.
And Monique, you chatted there about sort of friends on the European tour, etc. And there's a really good group of South African ladies coming through in terms of golf at the moment. Are you guys sort of a close-knit group, or is there quite a bit of competitiveness between you that does keep you sort of each other at arm's length?
I think, especially now with the new group coming up, I mean, I think with the South Africans as a whole, we respect each other all as fierce competitors, and yes, and some of us are really good friends off the golf course. So you'll definitely see the SA girls a lot more together now. I would say, I mean, there's a lot more of us now. I mean, back in the day, it was really only, Ash, Leanne, and Stacy playing. But I mean, all of a sudden, you've got still the three of them playing, but you've got myself, you've got Cass, and Lejean. I mean, although Nobby is from Swaziland, I mean, Nobby is just, adopted South African by now. So you do see us, much more interacting with each other now, because we're a lot more than what we used to be, which is fantastic. It's so nice when we're, out and away and you just hear that South African accent, and, it's absolutely fabulous.
And do you feel that that can only assist the women's game in South Africa? Because, I mean, the men's game in terms of golf has been brilliant. We've had the Ernie Elson, the Retief, and Brandon and Brendan. I mean, I could go on for ages. We haven't had a South African yet that's really sort of blown the world away like some of the men have. Do you think this is sort of a time for a turn?
I think so. I mean, we've all had some time at home now, and I think all of us South Africans, I mean, if I look at the whole bunch that is playing between the LPGA and the Ladies European Tour, I think everyone is just ready and hungry and ready to get back out there. So I think you're going to see definitely some transformations coming back out onto the game now. I mean, we've all, fortunately, now that golf has been allowed back in level 3 lockdown, I think everyone is just, they're ready. We've had time, we've been at home, we've gone over everything, mentally, physically, what we've all experienced during lockdown. So I do think it's time, for us as South African women, and this counts for all of us, to make our mark on the world's biggest platform. I mean, the last person to have really done it was Sally Little, and I mean, Leanne had a brilliant run when she won like 5 tournaments in one season, which has absolutely been fantastic. But really, since then, no one's really kind of thrown their name in the hat. And I do think coming back out, this is really the time to take women's golf in this country to a new platform, and to really inspire the younger generation that, listen, there is a career in golf.
Absolutely.
Don't think it's just for the men. It's a wonderful, wonderful way of life. It's tough, it's lonely, but it's so worth it.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Monique, back to you, sort of personally. You've won 4 Sunshine Tour titles. 2019, Dimension Data. You won the Jonathan Ackerman 21 under trophy, which was at Clovelly Country Club. Now, for those that don't know Clovelly, that's like playing on the side of the mountain with the biggest wind machine blowing in every which direction. I mean, that in its own right is phenomenal. The 2020 Joburg Open at Soweto, which again must have been a very special occasion. Has there been one moment so far before the playoff and before the British Open that has been the highlight of your career?
I think the 2020 Joburg Open was, has been the pinnacle for me this year, besides qualifying for the Open. I mean, the emotion that has gone around Joburg Open. I mean, it was my birthday that week. It's my first birthday celebrating without my mom. So I didn't really feel like celebrating, because I'm like, this is, but to have come out and win, being 7 shots behind that final day. I mean, I'll never forget it. I had a phone call with my coach, Peter Berman, here in Knysna. And this is also a funny story. After the 2019 SLT, I went to Pete. I'm like, I'm going to give up golf unless you help me. So I went to Pete, and that's sort of where it started. This journey started in April of 2019. We put the goals down. The first goal was get the card. That was always the goal for 2019. And the next goal was to win a tournament. That was the only two goals that appeared on the goal sheet. That's it. You know, and I really do owe so much to Pete. I mean, he's been my rock. I mean, he was there throughout the entire 2019 season. And it was just the season where we were just going to play. We were going to work on what we needed to work on. And then coming into 2020, getting that card, coming home was difficult. You know, you come home and you realize you're coming back to a place where your mom's not at, and to find a way to play. You know, playing for me is my biggest sanctuary, because, you know, I can just sort of switch off everything that's around me, and I can just, it's me, my golf ball, choosing the best shot that's in front of me. So to come into Joburg Open, and I mean, Soweto this year was playing unreal. It was brutal in comparison to the previous year. I mean, that course has settled in magnificently. So it showed a different set of teeth this year. And, you know, to start off on my birthday, first round, and to get through the first two rounds, and, you know, I mean, Sid was playing amazing golf. And I mean, we were just watching her hold literally everything on day one and day two. And we were just like, okay, never mind, our ball's going in the hole. So to come back out on that final day, and I mean, like I said, we were chatting with Pete the night before. He's like, you've got nothing to lose. Like, you keep playing. And again, just go for it. There's nothing to lose. Be brave. That's literally all he said to me. He's like, just be brave. And I stood there, pulled up my socks, and we're like, okay, let's be brave. And, you know, and I was playing beautifully that day. I think I finished maybe 1 or 2 under par that day. And, you know, to have tapped that final putt in, I mean, I was fighting back the tears. And, you know, that one was just for my mom. And it was just so special to have gotten the win again after 4 years, after, you know, setting out on the journey with Pete in April of 2019. And to have achieved that was just, it was monumental, you know. And from there, so that was sort of like, we've got another tick off. So now it's time to go back to the drawing board, and let's add some new ones. Let's put some higher goals in there, you know. And that nearly happened at this year's SA Open. So, but, you know, definitely 2020 Joburg Open, hands down.
Do you think that was a turning point in your career, both in terms of your mindset, because you had been, you know, fluttering between, should I be playing, should I not be playing? Obviously, you'd been through the tragedy with your mom. Do you think there was a turning point both in terms of your career, playing career, and your mindset?
Massively. I mean, having achieved the final card at LET, you know, that gives you the playing right to play. But having to come back and now perform on this stage is a completely different step. It's a different level. I mean, you can't explain Q School to anybody. To go through 3 weeks of 9 competitive professional rounds of golf with 300 other girls trying to compete for 20 cards, there's nothing like that. And having achieved that, okay, was great. Now we've at least secured a playing field for the year, but now we have to perform on this field. And to have won the Joburg Open like I said, that was monumental. That gave me just the kick to know that, listen, you don't need to worry about playing golf. You can do this. You've won after 4 years again, after everything that's happened, you know, 3 years of not actually playing much golf. I mean, I was playing the Sunshine Ladies Tour, but I wasn't traveling to Asia or to Europe anymore to compete. So, I mean, I was playing for 3 months of the year, and that was really about it. And to have done the 2020 Open, the Joburg Open and then to come out a couple of weeks later to finish second with the SA Open against the best of South Africa, the best of the European girls, was monumental. It solidified the belief I had that I can do this, that I'm capable of doing this, and that, that I'm worthy of doing this. Hey, Luna, yes.
And Monique, chat to us about the emotions around the four-way playoff. And obviously taking the learnings from Joburg Open, knowing that you could do it, the belief in yourself, knowing that you can do it. Do you feel that also assisted you in that playoff? Because the playoff is not, I mean, that's an incredibly taxing emotional experience.
It is, like I said just earlier, is that you can't actually explain Q School to anyone. It's grueling, it's taunting, it is just emotionally, you have to be beyond kind to yourself. You have to be your biggest cheerleader out there, because it's really just you that's out there for 9 rounds of golf on 2 different golf courses, literally 2 different golf courses. And to go through that, and I mean, I had very much the game plan of, I'm going to be plodding along, I'm going to make my birdies where I make them, but par is king. Pars don't hurt scorecards whatsoever. And coming into the final day, so after making the first stage, getting through that, and then you kind of have 3 days before stage 2 restarts, and then you have basically 4 rounds again, and then the top 60 qualify for the final day. And going into the final day, I had an outside chance, but I wasn't really paying too much attention to that. I knew my job was find the fairway, find the greens, let's putt. If it drops, great. Otherwise, great, we've got another par, moving on. And I'll never forget, I made a double on the 16th hole of the final day. And I'm like, you've just blown it completely now. Made par on 17, par on 18, and now I'm just like, okay, well, I've missed the full card now, but I still have category the next one on, which is still fine. I'm still going to get at least maybe like 40-50%. So I'm like, okay, fine. You didn't go out there to make a double, but this happens too. It's golf. And when I was in score recording, and Claire, who was at the South that day, she was like, Mon, you can't go anywhere. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you might be in a playoff. We're not sure how many, but you're on that cusp of playoff, not playoff. And it was, I don't know if this is lucky or unlucky, but the German girl bogeyed the last hole to bring 4 people into a playoff. So, that was heartbreaking for her. So it was myself, it was a Spanish girl, the German girl, and then another French girl. So now the 4 of us are back out, par 5. And I'll never forget it. I said to my caddy, Clara Pietri, she was very, very kind in caddying for me that day. She had just missed the final day cut. So she said, if you want, I'm happy to come out with you for a walk around the golf course. I'm like, perfect. So I said to her, give me my driver. So now I'm hitting driver, but I smashed that drive. That was probably one of my best drives in non-competitive rounds. But it was the most amazing feeling, Adam, is that I didn't feel nervous. There was no nerves. It was utter calm and utter peace on the golf course. It felt literally like my mom just had her hands over me. And I'll never forget, I had about 195 to the green for my second on the par 5. I said to her, I'm going for it. She's like, okay, cool. So I grabbed my 3-wood. The other 3 have now all laid up. I'm like, I'm going for this. And I hit the most beautiful 3-wood straight into the middle of that green. And it was probably maybe 10-15 feet just left of the hole. And, so the French girl, no, the Spanish girl and the German girl both made pars. And then Manon, the French girl, she held a beautiful putt for birdie. And my eagle putt just scraped the lip of the hole. So it was a tap-in birdie in the end. But this means the 2 of us have got to go back now. So I hit driver again. And but this time we had a bit of wind into, so I didn't go for it in 2 again. So I just laid up, Manon laid up. And Manon didn't have a very good third shot into the green. So she had a probe about 20, 25 feet for birdie. And I wedged mine up to about 8 feet left of the hole, but I just knew that putt was going to be a nightmare. So now we're up and up, and Manon just misses for par, for birdie. So she's in for par already. And I say to Clara, I don't know what this putt's going to do. I don't know. You tell me. I'll putt it where you tell me. If it goes in, great. If it misses, then we'll go back to the tee box. And she's like, this is half a ball inside the hole. I'm like, well, thanks for being precise, but okay, fine, whatever. I don't know what this
Hit the bloody thing.
Just hit the bloody thing. That is pretty much where I was going with this putt. And literally went half a ball inside left. Dropped, won the playoff. It was crazy because it was just of utter relief at that stage. I'm not gonna lie, and it's kind of been the same. I mean, after having done the Joburg Open win, it only really hit me about 2-3 days later, where I was like, the joy and just the pride of doing this. It's like, I've accomplished this. It's amazing. And I think my emotion just came 2-3 days out later, because I mean, after that I was just like, oh my god, thank goodness this is done. To be honest. But it was just of utter joy, and just knowing of how proud Mom would be, because she was actually the one who caddied for me at La Manga in 2012 when we went there. So it was very special to have done one better than the result that we got the last time that I was there. So it was amazing. It really was.
It certainly sounds like your mom is there with you every step of the way. Monique, you're obviously going to British Open. You're obviously going to win the British Open. What to from there?
So pretty much after the Open for me this year is we're just going to try and play as much as we possibly can. We're still waiting for 1 or 2 tournaments just to be sure that it's going to go ahead. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that the limited field events that are at the French, and we have an awesome tournament in Dubai, which is called the Dubai Moonlight Classic. So I'm really hoping that with my 2020 Order of Merit as of this year, as I'm still lying 6th, that would get me into those tournaments. So, for now, it's pretty much the Open is my first event back. And from there, we'll be heading on to the Czech Republic, where we will play 2 events, one on the main tour, one on the Access Tour. And then we've got 1 or 2 in Switzerland, again, which I always love playing. I mean, it's like my second home now. So really looking forward to that. And then, hopefully, fingers crossed, that, the events that is still back on the schedule, that it will go ahead, as planned this year.
It certainly sounds like a busy schedule and a busy year coming up. Monique, it's been absolutely magic chatting to you today on Sport SA Daily. Thank you for your time. Good luck with the British Open. The whole of South Africa will no doubt be watching you and rooting for you. And just do whatever you do. Just hit the ball down the driveway and onto the green and into the hole. It's really that simple.
It's that simple. But Adam, thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time today to have a chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Catch us again tomorrow on Sport SA Daily Diary, where we chat to a South African adventure athlete.